What have you been up to? What's new?
Nothing, buddy. Coaching youth hockey.
How's the team doing this year?
We're coming into like states and nationals, so we've had a pretty good run this last month and a half. We lost yesterday our first game in probably 15 games or so. So we had a pretty good run. We got a good run.
Is Adam taller than you yet?
Yeah, not yet, buddy. I still got an inch on him. Are you sponsored by Nike? Do you have a Nike deal?
Bills.
And it's not Movember anymore, man. You can get rid of it.
No, it
looks like a little darkness right there.
You think?
Yeah.
Are you still coaching? Is it Konopka you're coaching with?
No, Coletta.
You're
close. Yeah, another tough guy. Yeah.
Are you guys still together?
Yeah, he's my assistant. So we got a little mix of toughness and skill.
You're the toughest?
So, yeah.
What kind of coach? I think on his own kid he'd be pretty hard. I think with the other kids, he might be a little bit more forgiving. But I think
you nailed it. You nailed it. I'm probably way harder on Adam than any other kid.
I mean, I always felt my dad was like that too, growing up.
Yeah.
I thought he gave it to me way harder. He says he didn't, but I thought he gave it to me way harder than the other kids.
Yeah. Was he coaching you in? Was that brick highlight I saw?
Yeah,
I don't know. Was your coach then?
But so he was watching. Obviously, that was like second period, and I just pouted.
You lost your mind after that.
And the whole period, I was just pouting. Pretty sure I'm crying on the ice. He came down, and I still remember. He held me by the jersey and picked me up and put me against the wall, and looked me in the eye and told me if I don't stop crying, I'm never playing hockey again. I never forgot that.
That's funny. You're like, but it's a goal. It went in.
Still thought it should count it.
Yeah. No way.
No, I think it was in before I pushed the goalie.
No way. You speared him right into the goal. No goal.
Soft.
I meant to text you after that one when I saw that floating around.
Georgie texted me.
I was trying to think of that the other day. Would you have had one camp before?
I had
and then you made it 2012?
Well, I had two camps, but one of them where I would have been with you guys, where I went to like the main camp. I played, I think, like 6 exhibition games. I was there for 6, played all 6, and then got sent home. I remember you guys were going to Quebec City and planning like a nice little trip, and I was sitting in the room and we were going over. I was like, "Oh, this is gonna be pretty fun." They called me right into the coach's office. Like, damn it.
Exactly. And for a young guy too, man, you're like, "Oh, nice dinner, nice night out." You're like, "Oh, this is gonna be awesome."
They sold it pretty good. I was like, "NHL, I made it." No, back to junior.
And then the next year you made it?
Yeah, next year. Well, you guys had the lockout, and then I went to Hamilton, played in the American League, which was huge for me because I don't think I would have made the team if I didn't have the American Hockey League games. And then you guys hadn't been playing for about 3 months, so a little bit of an advantage for us coming in, hot start, and was able to stick around.
Yeah, but I think if I remember, we had conversations with management, me, Georgie, about housing you and Chucky there.
I think that was like they had that meeting with us. It was like we had played like 3 games.
Yeah.
And I mean, they didn't have to tell me anything because I was 20. They could send me back down to the American League. But that was nice of Burge and Big Mike to call me.
Yeah.
I know I was staying for the year, so I didn't have to stress him a bit. And it wasn't by fluke, but the team sat me beside him and Prusty, and he would just do things that he probably wouldn't even realize. But as a young kid, you just pick up on him. And the hockey side of it was one thing, obviously a smaller player that I could look at, but I think it was more, the way he carried himself away from the rink, the way he prepared for games. He used to laugh at me the way I got ready for games, just kind of kicked a soccer ball around.
Exactly.
But that's what I had to pick up on. And, it was just the way he carried himself, day in, day out at the rink was really big for me, especially as a young player. Style of play was very similar, so I was pretty lucky to have Gio around.
Like he said, that's kind of how I led, right? I led by example and kind of how I carried myself and what I did, and used my experiences and such. But I mean, he laughs about it, but yeah, like just kicking a soccer ball, he'd go out, play 2-touch, and then he'd be ready for the game. I was like, man, I wish I was 20 again, because it'd take me like an hour to get my 30-year-old body prepped for it. And I remember being that young and being able to pop up from every cross check in front of the net too. And I said, it reminded me of a young myself, right? Like I knew his first camp that he was going to be a player, and eventually kind of not take my job in a bad way, but he was going to be that guy that was going to take over on wing, and a small player, gritty player. He was going to play the same type of way. I knew, that he was going to take over and fill that role for sure. I saw a lot of myself in him, so I knew he was going to take off. Even in that first training camp, you could tell that he was a player that was going to make it, even though he wasn't ready at the time. You could tell that he had what it took. It really impressed a lot of us in the room. Everyone was talking about him because he made that type of impression on. I knew that he was that type of player that was going to take over and be that. So I wanted to, kind of do what I could. And, a lot of things weren't said, right? They're done by example. And that's just kind of, I think, how both of us are is, more low key type of guys and just go about your business and hope things rub off on people.
You like to think you learn a little bit from all your teammates, but, when I look back at the end of my career, I think Gio will be, one of the guys that helped me out the most. You talk about just competing and playing injured. I remember one playoffs, I think it was in Ottawa, your bicep was torn right after. And he was walking around the rink. He was kind of acting like it was no big deal. He was just going to play. It was what he was going to do. And, he was injured pretty bad, but you wouldn't know, looking at him or watching him prepare. It was just the stuff that went into winning. You could tell he'd won before. He's kind of prepared to do anything. And those are little things that stick with you, especially as a young player, getting to go through a couple of those playoff runs with him. And that team that we had, it was something that doesn't leave your memory for sure.
We had a team that could have won it that year. Pricey gets hurt, and Tokarski did a great job filling in, but we had a team that could have won it for sure.
We were coming off Game 7 in Boston, and Game 1 at home against the Rangers couldn't have gone worse. We lost 1, we lost Pricey. Next game we actually played all right, but lost at home. You lose both games at home. It was just too hard to come back from. So that one stung. We had depth. I think our fourth line at some point in the playoffs was Thomas Vanek, Danny Briere, and Brandon Prost at some point. I remember Gio's line. I think Gio was playing with Borky and Lars. They were scoring like crazy. We just had depth. We had Pricey in net. Our back end was physical, tough to play against. It was, as a makeup, our team as a whole was just, kind of made for playoff hockey.
If you would have been in my household at that time, you would have lost your mind. 3 little kids,
I remember every time we walked down to your place, that looked stressful. The worst was when we got back from road trips. I'd sleep in till 11 o'clock, be exhausted, talk to you the next day. You're up at 6.
Yep.
Ride horses or something like that.
Yeah. Well, you got to get to the kids' stuff, right? You miss it on the road. So now when you get home, they want to see you either before school or they want to go and do their activities. So you got to bring them. So you're just dragging that whole day. You get 4 hours of sleep and you're just try to make it through.
I was pretty impressed by that.
Yeah, I remember. Hey, do you remember when you guys had to decorate Georgie's house for Christmas with Christmas lights and stuff? You remember that time?
I do. It looked
So we had a professional come to our house and put up Christmas lights. So our house is all decked out. Georgie and Gally get this idea that they're gonna make it look that good. So I think they went to either Rana or Canadian Tire, grabbed a bunch of boxes of Christmas lights, and they get back and they had 3 bushes done, literally 3 bushes done in 4 hours.
When you're buying lights, it's okay, buy 300 lights. That's gotta be enough. It takes up no space. We had maybe a corner of his house, a couple of the trees. Still proud.
Yeah, exactly. Him and Georgie were all pumped it was going to turn out like that. This big aha moment. So we had to go down and see it. It was embarrassing.
It wasn't that bad.
Yeah. And Gally, as a typical 20-year-old at the time, had no winter toque, winter hat, or gloves. He had to borrow those. He was freezing after that.
Gio gave me a bunch of clothes my first year there. He gave me some there.
Couple old suits. I give you a couple old suits.
Though. Yeah, they were a little short.
No way.
I blew those pretty quick.
No, I mean, enjoy it. I like anytime. Enjoy every minute of it. I was lucky. I made it to close to 40, so I was happy with that. But you miss the locker room, you miss the guys, you miss the game, competing. But you're in your prime right now. Enjoy it, love it. Try to win a cup as quickly as possible. You never know when those opportunities come up. So I think anytime you get a chance, bear down on that. Like lay everything on the line. And so, like you said, playing with one arm, it's just what you do in playoffs. Playoffs come, you play through every injury, and you try to push for that cup. That's the ultimate prize. Hey, but I was hurt. Like my feelings were hurt when we came back for that captain's night a year ago. So, I mean, I figured you'd pick a Gionta jersey, wheeling around in warm-ups.
I don't think they gave me the choice. I would have.
No, I'm joking.
I think
you're a pretty good guy. He wasn't bad. He wasn't a bad player. He was all right.
I should have had a Gionta on.
Somebody stood Webb's next to me for the picture too. So
wow.
Webb's a monster next to me on his skates on top of it, like just made me look brutal.